This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages, right here on Ooh, jeez. Hashtag We Are Movie Club. It's time for Scary Movie Squad. Salutations, I am Camerai, and I am conversation ready. Go ahead and pop that now. Get that out of the way. So, I've got to fix this one way or the other, but I keep forgetting to do this podcast because the plan was always to watch the movie and then immediately, and then immediately do it on Friday. I don't have anyone here to help kind of remind me and keep me honest on that. So what happens is that I watch a 2-hour, in this case, a 2.5-hour movie, and Cammy gets tired. So Cammy goes to bed, or he plays a game of Paladins and then goes to bed. And then I wake up and I go, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't have anything to do. I'll just watch a movie. Or I get up and I start fixing things like I did today, and I forget about it again. So, my apologies. I want to get that out of the way. The point in talking about that at all, as my microphone falls away from the desk, is that in my head that sticks in as punishment. Oh, Jesus. And then I will remember to address it later. Okay. There's absolutely nothing to do recording this live. It's either I fix this or I hold the microphone up the entire time. Either one is possible, but I'm not going to do the latter, so we did the first. There, we can sit here right under the little alien guy for Alien 3. That is the movie that we're here to talk about. We did watch Alien 3 last night on Rabbit/Camerai. So right now we're typically doing Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern and or 2100 if you speak in real time. I really want to fix that. What side is that? This side? Is that better? Is that what you're expecting, computer? There we go. I fixed it. I can do that. Apparently I can't frame myself for shit, and then I'm just gonna shift anyways as I move around. But Alien 3 is a movie that we watched over on Rabbit/Camerai. What to say about this? How to start this? So I have no idea what the people who were involved in getting the Alien franchise off the ground were thinking from movie to movie. The first movie was a good idea that not too many people had done, and definitely didn't do it as well up to the time. And many more movies have ripped off Alien in one way or another, or paid homage to. It's a nicer way to say that. And created tropes around how little you see the creature. And to be fair, like that, Jaws did that before Alien did, I think. If I got the timeline right. So, it's really kind of tricky to like follow what they're doing, because the second movie was like, just throw more money at it, make more of the aliens. We'll make a movie called Aliens, and instead of doing Alien 2, we'll call it Aliens, and we'll be different. Fuck you guys. I don't care about that at all. It's like, you just make a decent movie, and it was interesting to see it from the perspective of going into a colony that is already taken over and seeing if you can, with actual military people who are somewhat expecting the situation, if they can deal with the situation properly. To me, that's a good horror movie, or good action/horror movie. Do you have the ability to strategically overcome the situation? No? Well, let's watch. Because they sent one squad in to deal with this. They should have sent a small army, not one squad. Honestly, they didn't send enough firepower in the last movie. And in this movie, again, not really sure what happened with all this, unless Bishop's to blame. But no weapons, no weaponry whatsoever. Enough people, not a lot, but enough people to actually turn and everything. So if things had gone truly south, spoilers, then there would have been enough people there to start a xenomorph colony properly for whenever the next ship came in. Because they're smart enough to target spacecraft. Remember that. I don't know if they can do anything from surface to air per se, other than jump. But so this time it's a prison, and this whole movie's sad. Honestly, it's not uplifting at all. So they're in space, going home from the last movie. There's a malfunction of some kind. They either their section of the ship falls away and crashes on this planet, or the whole ship crashes on the planet. And either way, Newt dies. The magic cat's gone. Nobody even sees the damn thing. Bishop, who had been ripped in half in the last movie, is scattered about even more than he was already. Corporal Hicks dies. Somehow a facehugger got onto Ripley. We don't know when that happened, because unless it was in the second movie in the medical bay when the facehugger got on her, because it never attached to her face, but it got pretty damn close, so maybe it shot eggs down her throat. I think the premise is that like an egg or a facehugger got onto the ship, and then while she was in cryo, they showed a little bit of that at the beginning of the movie. That's right. Sorry, a lot of the movie's kind of forgettable, if I'm being honest, where it burns through her cryostasis tube and then attaches itself in plants or whatever. But you'd think she'd wake up with it on her face. I don't know what the rules are for this. And I'm going to assume it happened to Corporal Hicks as well, because there's a separate alien that ends up bursting out of... Oh no, because it wouldn't have happened to Corporal Hicks. It would have been a second facehugger on the ship that escaped and found that cow. And so they did the first xenomorph in real chronology that was biologically different than the other ones, because it didn't copy human DNA, it copied bull DNA or cow DNA. So it was a crawler. It was a little bit longer, it was more quadrupedal, but it had a lot of the the similar instances. And that's where the toy line kind of goes off the rails, because they started doing like mantis ones and everything, and the comics were doing that sort of thing as well, but the toy lines are the ones that got overexcited about it. And it's like, we could make all kinds of shit kids will buy, because people like to make money, and dummies like to spend money, and kids like to ask for stupid shit. And I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't a kid who asked for stupid shit. To be fair, I did ask for significantly less stupid shit, but like, I made my video games last. I asked for like a small set of G.I. Joes. It's like, oh, I just want these, and I'll do this. And I did my own thing for quite some time. I was never a FOMA guy that was like, oh, I need the latest Ninja Turtle that has glasses. Occasionally I wanted new characters like Usagi Yojimbo, but like, it wasn't because he was new, it's because it's like, oh, I don't have a bunny that can play with the turtles. So I think I only had one turtle at a time, maybe two. But I'd rather the turtle play with the bunny or whatever. Like, that was just me. So I think I had a mantis alien just because it was that cool looking. And I remember having a snake alien, which is really kind of weird to think about now that I'm thinking about it, because they didn't take the cat. Okay, so that's kind of like the primer for the movie. Ripley's a lone survivor. She crashes on a male prison planet. So of course everyone wants to do her in like the worst of ways. Let's see. But some dude's just out on the surface. Not exactly sure why. But he finds her. And then rushes to bring her in. And then when he comes back, his coat's just covered in lice, is what they call it. It was like big crawly bugs. And what are they surviving off of out there? Like, they've got to eat something on the surface. There doesn't look like there's any indigenous animals out there, but they bring a cow in from somewhere. So I'm not sure. I just don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions with it, but like you're just supposed to know that there's like parasitic bugs that are a thing outside, along with the weather and whatever the fuck else is on this horrible prison planet. Outside bad. I can relate to that. But like she ends up spewing blood as she's resuscitated, and she comes to a while of like dealing with how that everyone else is dead, to the point where he actually makes the doctor cut open Newt to look in her chest cavity to make sure that she didn't have a thing in her. Never occurs to her that she's the one that has it in her until she starts having chest pains later, and they do an MRI or whatever. Now there is a horrible inconsistency with the germination period of these creatures. Because in the first one, we never really deal with that. I think there's one guy that gets infected or whatever, and it's fairly quick. Yeah, but in Aliens, it's real fast. Wait, am I thinking about this right? I'm thinking Alien Covenant or something. But in some of the movies, it's really, really fast. But Ripley goes almost the whole movie. No, she goes the whole movie with the Queen in her chest. And it's really weird. It's a really weird thing. So maybe the Queen just takes longer to germinate than the other ones do. Maybe that's it. We'll just... The suspension of disbelief required in sci-fi has dropped significantly. So when we go back and we watch older movies like this, you've got to raise it up a little bit. You got to be like, I'm watching a movie. It's okay. So let's see. Yeah, there's some shots of Ripley in her underwear. I'm not sure why people were into that, but okay. So she's supposed to be kind of confined in the infirmary because the superintendent, not a warden, but the superintendent doesn't like her that she's there. He thinks she's going to cause problems with the prisoners. She doesn't get it through her head that she's in a prison colony, and she kind of treats everyone like people, which in theory is what you should do. But when they're murderers and rapists that have been convicted, and they're looking you up and down like you're a piece of candy, you got to take a reality check and go, I'm not in a safe place. People want parts of me I don't want them to have. So one of the pastor guy, the black guy, who's kind of like the religious leader of the prison, ends up telling her pretty much just that like, you shouldn't be talking to any of us. You don't like me. I don't like you. Fuck off, basically. The doc gets into her because he's lonely. And she trusts him because he's in a professional position, even though he's there for abusing patients or whatever. So, let's see. Oh yeah, so eventually, like, they find an alien skin in the tunnels, but it's all, like, the stupidest guys that go down these tunnels, so it takes a while for anyone to, like, believe what they're saying about what they're seeing down there. So they manage to find like a dead body. The crazy guy gets blamed for killing the other two, and I don't know what your first reaction is when you get covered in blood, but I'm telling you, when I get covered in blood, I try to go wash off a little bit, then I go have cereal. I don't just look at blood in my face, cereal. I don't think that takes a high level of intelligence to figure out. I think he was purely capable of it. But for whatever reason, the crazy guy's also enamored by the dragon, if you will. And yeah, it's kind of cool looking, but I would recognize that it's killing people. Now, again, we're in a place full of murderers and rapists, so they're probably not people that see people as people. If you have trouble understanding that means that you're somewhat okay. If you got it in one, you're either a problem or you have a degree of understanding of psychology. Because that's what that statement is. So they go and they explore and clean these tunnels and try to maintain it, because in theory they're part of the facility. They're required for something somewhere somehow. So they leave like little candles behind when they go and explore, and occasionally they're still finding cigarettes, apparently. That's interesting to me, because it looks like it's old enough for the cigarettes to have gone bad. And if the tunnels are necessary to be cleaned and explored or whatever, why are they still finding new things? So, if they're down there with the candles, you get this cool like scene where it's like the candles are kind of getting blown out one by one. And of course it's the xenomorph, and they send someone to investigate. What is that cliche, right? So this is cinema sins all of a sudden. So xenomorph kills that guy, runs after the other two, gets one of them. So immediately, like, that's some easy killing going on. Ripley's goes to Bishop goes and finds what's left of Bishop to talk to him, and I think he kind of dies while he's trying to get her the information. But he tells her about what he what he perceived about the crash. So she knows that there is either sabotage or an alien sabotage. Sabotage to me means that the same team did it. But the alien damaged the ship somehow. It's still sabotage. So they go back to kind of the cafeteria and start talking about different shit. No weapons on this because it's a prison facility. You can't have weapons where prisoners can get them. The employees and the prisoners share way too much of the same space to me. I don't see how that works in reality. But it is what it is. I mean, this isn't Chronicles of Riddick, but it's close. It's probably actually, you know what? Thinking about this is probably where Chronicles of Riddick got their idea. They watched this, they went, man, this is a shit kind of movie. But that prison, though, how do we make it better? And I think they took a lot of good notes, honestly, if I'm being honest. Because I do like Chronicles of Riddick better, or I have to differentiate the second movie versus the first one, because the first one was originally Pitch Black, and they renamed it to match the franchise, which I thought was weird. So they continue talking about this and being like there's an alien here. It's coming. There's no alien, and they get sucked up through the ceiling into a fan of some kind. Oh, that was how the one guy died. Yeah, one of the guys earlier actually falls into a fan. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to remember. But it was because the alien spat acid at him or whatever. But this is like literally the thing like drops down from the ceiling, grabs his head and pulls him up. And then just it sprays blood everywhere like he got into a meat grinder. I don't understand what this alien's fascination is with spraying blood all over the place, but it happens a lot. They're mopping up blood everywhere. Let's see. So Ripley is the only one that believed Jack up until that point, and they all see it, so then they know, and it's not about believing. Did we already pass the uncomfortable scene? Oh, yeah, we did. Like, somewhere in there, too, like, they all gang up to try to get with Ripley, whether she likes it or not, and the pastor guy beats them all with a pipe, which I thought was a nice way to run your flock is with a shepherd's stick, if you will. I'm skipping around a little bit because I don't want to focus on parts like that. I want to talk about certain things. So as they bang through the movie, the doc eventually tells her how he ended up there. And then, of course, the xenomorph gets him. And this looked like it was like the first time they had actually CGI'd an alien in place, and it was pretty bad looking, I'll be honest. I'm willing to bet in the original theatrical cut, that wasn't in there. It just cut straight to the scene where it's getting down on him, because they didn't do it so well. But they definitely get it right by the next movie, so I can't shame it too much. You need those mistakes sometimes. So superintendent through the ceiling. Wait, what? Did the doc go first? Hold on. I'm telling this all out of order, but I'm giving you the information correctly. It's just the timeline's a little messed up. Okay, so I guess the doc got hit first, and then the superintendent's there, and then Ripley's coming to tell him that it's real because she saw it get the doc, and then he goes through the ceiling. So they're trying. They planted trapping the thing into the toxic waste room, and fuck me if I know how it actually got it trapped in there. But they mop like this fuel trail, and then the guy goes and takes a cigarette break, because when you're doing that with fumes and shit, that's a good idea. Goddamn idiot! I can't believe horror movies are fuel and stupidity. It's a mantra I gotta get in my head, but it's just so bad. So, like, he accidentally sets off the fuel, and then the aliens trying to, like, avoid the fire and chase after them at the same time, and so they end up baiting it, and I can only assume that they got it in there because the crazy guy at the beginning, or that was eating cereal with blood on his face, that guy, he ends up tied to something, like, in the infirmary, and he's like, I'm guarding you, I'm letting him, and you're staying here. It's like, well, what? It's not going to come in here. You don't have to worry about him drawing it out. We got it trapped in the waste thing. And then the third guy leaves, and the first guy lets the crazy guy out of his chair. He's like, okay, but you're staying in this room. And then for some reason he's positioned in some manner where the crazy guy picks up this huge like oxygen tank or something and hits him over the head, and then goes and lets the xenomorph out. And I'm assuming it kills him, because I don't remember seeing him out or anywhere after that. Not the other prisoners would have killed him anyways. So it's all fucked all over again. So they finally get communication with the company, and the company says that they're sending a crew, and they don't. And the prison colony doesn't have permission to kill it. It's a huge part of the movie that they deny permission to. They actually say don't engage it. Which I thought was interesting. It's like they say permission denied, attempt not to engage creature, we will be there shortly or whatnot. And sure enough, by the time the company crew actually gets there, they've managed to not knock out, but take out the xenomorph, and then so the focus is more on the one that's in Ripley's chest. And right after the communication is how they find out, because she gets scanned and realizes she has a queen in her. And they do a bunch of planning on how to survive or hurt it, because they've got like half the number of people they did earlier when they trapped it. So it's kind of stupid at this point. It's like, well, it took all that effort to go get them the first time. We might as well just walk outside. And then, okay, yeah, so Ripley goes looking for him in the tunnels, and there's some good lines here I wanted to quote real quick. So it's, she's like calling to it. She's trying to get its attention because it's already not killed her in the infirmary. So she thinks she's invincible for all intents and purposes, because it knows that the queen's in there, and it's designed not to hurt the queen. And maybe the queen's even sending out little psychic messages like, get away from her, you idiot. So she's saying, don't be afraid, I'm part of the family. Which is kind of true, but not. Because it knows to avoid her, but just not to kill her. And then, of course, this is her third movie with this shit, so it's like, she has a nice line here, too, also, of, you've been in my life so long, I can't remember anything else. And I think that's actually a quote from, like, an old book, like a more classic literature, but I can't be positive, because I've heard it used a lot. It could very well be from this movie, but no one's going to quote Alien 3 to someone and admit it. So, of course, she's going insane, too, at this point. She's all lightheaded. She thinks a pipe is him. She busts it open, and there's all those little lice things inside. But apparently, it's just been sitting up on the ceiling and watching her the whole time. And that is the creepiest fucking thing they do, is that they just hang out in the ceiling and sit there, and then eventually they activate. And it's like, oh, yeah, you. Whatever. Fucking cat. So the rest of this pretty much takes place around the foundry. They plan to activate the foundry or the furnace or whatever the hell you call it, and drown it in lead. Makes sense. It's a good plan. I don't know why the events unfold the way they do, but it is what it is. What it is. So it starts hunting them again because that's what it do. They find it eating something. I don't know if it's another guard or a person that they were working with or what, but they start kiting it back to the foundry, which means it's not like a slander. It's they're running with it behind them like they're pulling a kite, with doors shutting and whatnot. So eventually there's a point where three of them kind of get trapped in the room. So the third guy has to hit the button to lock himself away from the xenomorph, but trap it on the side with Ripley and the pastor. So those two head to the furnace itself, while the other guy goes to the control deck. So there's death. It comes down to those three people. It gets ridiculous at points because it won't attack her, and then it hides from her a couple times to the point where she's like smacking it with one of the little sparkler things she has, just trying to get it to react. And you'd think she would be able to like stab it properly and like get acid going, but because who knows what would happen if she actually got hurt, what it would do. But it does get pissed enough later, so I'll get there. But she's physically trying to pull it out. It's swiping at her with its tail. But when the pastor shows up, he goes, "Oh, there's something I can attack," and he goes after him. So even when they get to the basin, like they're in the thing where the hot lead goes, they're talking about climbing out of it, and he's like, no, we kill it, then I kill you. That was the deal. So start climbing, because now I can't trust you. So she starts climbing, and it doesn't care about her at all. In fact, she was in the way from the alien trying to kill the pastor, and then the pastor starts climbing up too, and then the alien starts climbing up. So obviously it's not just going to sit in the thing where the hot lead goes unless it has a reason to. So the pastor kind of resigns to being bait or being eaten alive, really, and he puts up a good fight, smack talking and punching it back. Just not enough, but whether or not he survived the mauling, the hot lead would have finished him for sure. Because then they pour the hot lead in, and they have to watch as they kill their friend. Because he was really one of the only decent ones there, if that, honestly. Man, okay, and then she's like, "Oh, I could have died in that, and it would have been awesome." But as they're trying to figure everything out, like what to do next, the thing bursts out of the hot lead. I don't know how it didn't do that immediately. I'm not sure why it does it eventually. Like, I really don't know. Like, maybe it took a minute for it to figure out that it could. The fact that it's able to heat resist that much is incredible. So, oh my god. Okay, so, and I still think it's bullshit. But the lead's still hot, so if it had solidified, at least it would have been encased and it wouldn't be able to move. So it starts leaping out and climbing after Ripley. Ripley goes after what they call sprinklers. It's really like a trough of water to cool the lead once it's been it's put where it is to be bars or whatever the hell it is that they do with this. So once the lead contracts, it ends up popping the xenomorph like a big zit. But this is kind of bullshit too, because it should be acting like a acid grenade at this point. So Ripley definitely should have got burnt to hell. And apparently it hurts a lot, so she probably would have let go of the chains and fallen, because she was hanging off something at that point. But eventually, like, she gets out of that, away from that. The xenomorph's dead. The pastor's dead. It's just her and one more prisoner and one more guard who had refused to participate. And he was waiting to direct the crew to the situation when the company arrived. So there's all that. And of course, the company idiot is really, really dumb. And during part of the argument / discussion stuff, the guard ends up attacking the big, strong rifle guys, soldiers, security officers, whatever you want to call them. While the guy who looks like Bishop, the guy who invented the Bishop androids, is trying to convince her to just come back with them and submit, because they're going to take the thing out of her and kill her, and because they don't give a shit about anything. They still want it for the bioweapons division, which again doesn't make any sense. You can drop it on a planet, and more than likely what is going to happen is that it's going to take over the planet, and then you have to fight them for the planet instead of whoever was originally there. It's not useful as a weapon, like on its own, and I think that's some of the stuff in Alien Resurrection. I think based on that, I think that's what they wanted it for. They wanted to train it, but it's not interested in that. It just wants to kill and procreate. So to try to prevent all this, eventually, like, I think the prisoner is actually taken away. I think he's the only one who survives. But she throws herself into the furnace, into the fire, or the lava, or whatever you want to call it, to try to prevent them from getting a hold of the queen inside her. Because if they get the queen that's in her, and I have no idea how that became the queen or whatever, if it was a queen facehugger, if they got a hold of that, then they could reproduce as many as they want. They could mass produce, like on an assembly line, with humans, because they don't give a shit. Again, Alien Resurrection, you could see a lot of that. They don't give a crap. Like, they could mass produce alien soldiers, and I have no idea how that goes. I think if you can mimic being a queen, like Ripley does, sort of, at one point, then you could command them, but it's really weird. It's a really weird way to go with it. I think that's pretty much all I can say on Alien 3. Like, I can't say that it was a great movie. I can't say that it was a bad movie, but it was a movie that happened that is very forgettable on all fronts. I'll give it that. Don't have the reviews up. They'll be a little bit later than normally planned, but I think I got to make some time this week to make sure that those get caught up and then other things get done ahead of time. So I think I can leave that there. And join us next week on Rabbit/Camera. We're going to go ahead and watch Alien Resurrection before we start the Predator series, and then after we do, because there's only a couple Predator movies. After we do the Predator movies, we'll do Aliens versus Predator. Because there's a couple of those, and that'll take us into a month or two from now, and then I think we'll get around to the Descent, because that's gonna be a shining light in the future here. Honestly, I got so many reviews to write. But until you see me next time, I am Cam Ryan, and this has been a little bit from #WeAreMovieClub. Scary Movie Squad. You want to see anything else we're up to? You can't click the annotations because I didn't fix that card. I'm going to vamp here a little bit because I'm a big dummy. And I restructure things without fixing all my links first. Me. That's not even the right thing. Shared. God. Embarrassing. There we go. Boom. You want to see anything else we're up to in such high quality, go to click the annotations and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.